Playing Bigger, Playing Beautiful, the heart-centered way, where entrepreneurship meets spirituality, explores the intersection of personal fulfillment, spiritual growth, and business success. This podcast delves into the idea that entrepreneurship isn't just about profits or growing small to medium-sized businesses. It's also about embracing purpose, meaning, and inner growth. Each episode features conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and spiritual practitioners who share their journeys of building businesses that align with their highest values and deepest callings.
I'm your host, Debbie Zeta, best-selling author, meditation guide, Australia's leading heart-centered success coach, creator of the 6 Selves model of self-inquiry, and founder of the Heart-Centered Way, dedicated to helping heart-centered humans cultivate more time, energy, money, and wisdom.
Welcome to part 2 of this podcast with Karen Walker Cohn. So Karen, thank you for sharing the current working title. And I know that we've decided to sort of keep that between you and I, and I'm very grateful for that. But it has started this new train of thought and conversation between you and I around meaning, and the meaning that we apply to our life circumstances through our upbringing, through conditioning, through so many avenues. So I wanted to speak to that topic a little bit more. And we've totally veered off the questions, but we'll see. We might get to them. I think you and I could talk for the next 4 hours straight, if not longer. But yeah, you were talking about feedback, and this is something that I hear every week, every day in the coaching space. But there's just something so illuminating when you speak. You're so deeply connected to your own heart and to your soul. It's very clear in your body language, in your tonality, and in your eyes that you're very connected to yourself and the world around you. And I was thinking about my own heart journey, and you and I were just talking about labeling things. There's there's a person or a computer, or we didn't say these as examples, but I'm thinking of just even not just, but a tree. Up until 2020, I personally didn't notice trees. And then this sounds kind of strange, but for anyone who's done any, shamanic healing or opening heart meditation, or, any type of awakening experience, whatever that may look like for you, you'll understand when I say this. I walked out of a retreat, and I'd done thousands of hours of this type of practice over the last sort of, 8 years prior to that. And I just walked out, and it wasn't even the most beautiful of views. It was a hotel, pretty sort of average to nice hotel in Bali. And I saw grass and sky and trees, and I just burst out crying, and I could feel my heart expanding in every direction. And I just was going, thank you. Firstly, is something in the water? And if it is, it's okay. But what is happening? But oh my gosh, I can see the grass. I can see the sky. I can see the trees. And I was in such deep, deep gratitude. And that actually stayed with me for a number of weeks. I wish that I could have stayed there. And I'm hoping that in this incarnation, I can, because as I mentioned before, I go into my amnesia where I sort of forget that. But I'd love to find out, as I'm sharing this, this story with you, where that lands or what that reminds you of. There's a tree. Yeah, okay, it's a tree. No, there's a tree. Oh my gosh, there's a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's reminding me of when I feel like I really started my own spiritual kind of awakening as well. And it's funny that you say tree, because it was when I noticed it was a bird in a tree.
Yeah.
And just remember thinking, what a beautiful bird. And the colors just seemed brighter. The leaves seemed greener. Like it was life, and life was happening all around me. Life was happening in me, flowing through me. Like it just felt like, well, I was going to say it feels like how I feel now when I am rooted and grounded in who I am. And I will say more importantly, whose I am, is, oh gosh, it just feels like light. And what does light do, right? Illuminate It makes things brighter. And when you recognize your own light and how your light impacts with the light that's emanating all around you, um, for me, that's what unstoppable is. That's what uh, fully allowing myself to be seen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, in all with letting that light shine. There's this wonderful thing that we do in one of our leadership seminars that we turn off, like it's like if you just turn off all the lights
Mm.
and one person lights a candle,
Yeah.
and whoever's in the room, we pass that light on, right? It just gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and things start to illuminate. That's what your story feels like to me,
Mm.
you know? It's just an illumination and of like, yeah, life's all around us.
Yeah.
And when I open my eyes and fully, mm, I want to share with you something that actually happened a couple weeks back. This whole thing, because you know that for the better part of my life, I felt unseen and unheard. And about 3 weeks ago, I had this download where the question was, are you, Karen, are you really unseen, or do you just have your eyes closed?
Mm.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, it's time to open my eyes. And I think I will say that to anyone listening. It's time to open your eyes. Life is happening in and around you and through you, and don't miss it.
Mm.
Don't miss it.
I'm processing everything you're saying and feeling it in my being. And I also feel to share that if anyone is listening to this and you're driving, because I know a lot of people listen to podcasts, either, driving or walking, I want to encourage you to pause it and go back to the start of this session and just allow yourself to sit down, ideally by yourself in your own space. Sit down at a park, look at a tree, feel your feet on the ground. If it's a rainy day, sit down on your couch with a cup of tea. But there is so much energetic upgrading happening through the conversation in the wording that is being shared, particularly through Karen and the space that we're holding together. As someone that has felt unseen and unheard, I even just noticed myself wanting to give all of the accolade to you. And I'm actually going to notice that part of myself and share, if it's okay with you, sweet sister,
Yes.
but to share the stage
Yes.
with you and share that space and say that we are co-creating this space
Absolutely.
together through our conversation. And what a privilege, because I have beautiful conversations most days, but this just feels so sweet. It feels like there's just such an authenticity, a sweetness, a genuine desire to share what is on our hearts and our souls for the
Mhm.
betterment, I know, of others, and
Yeah.
also for us, because we also
Mhm.
deserve to receive. We're givers
Yes.
and we're big, kind-hearted women. And it's also okay for us to be able to have the success in our lives and
Yeah.
our businesses too. And I say
Absolutely.
that speaking to women listening who are also the uplifters in their own communities, because like you, I have my own community and I'm uplifting everybody. And it's sometimes a tricky balance to sort of receive, but it is actually safe to do so. And this
Absolutely.
leads me into now a beautiful question, which is, how have you aligned your business with your purpose?
Well, I feel when you're really, the thing I've learned about purpose, and I've shared with you earlier, my purpose is to use my light to help others find their own. And I did not know that up until last year. I couldn't verbalize what my purpose was. In fact, I would tell the story is that I don't know what my purpose is. I have no idea what my purpose is. That was my story, you know? And the more I told that story, what you focus on, the more you focus on is what you get back.
Yeah.
And so I was never getting to what is my purpose. And I just let that story go. And when I was able to align and go, okay, what is my purpose? And, working with a coach and doing some exercises to find my purpose, which was beautiful. Um, that's what came to me. And when I kept saying it over and over again, oh, wow, I use my light to help others find their own. And I look back at my life, I realized I was walking everywhere I went. I was walking in my purpose. Your
Mhm.
purpose doesn't just show up in your lap one day and then you like, oh, now let me align my business to that, or let me align my life to that. You've always been doing it. You just don't know that you are. You're not aware that you are.
I'm so glad that you said that, and I'm getting very teary for the most beautiful of reasons. I had a girlfriend who has since passed away from cancer in her early 40s, leaving two beautiful children and a husband behind. And we embarked on this heart journey together. I met her through the practice, and
Yeah.
it was through her persistence and somewhat stubborn natured soul that it really pushed me to continue with the practice at times when my soul wanted to be, let's say, quite lazy and walk away and just let it go, because it's, it can be quite challenging to touch on those parts of yourself.
Yeah.
And she would just encourage me to keep going, keep going. And in the last sort of 6 to 12 months before she passed, she would sit down with me and our kids, and we would watch I believe it's a Disney, maybe it's Pixar, sorry if I've got it wrong, but the movie is called Soul, Soul.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful movie.
Yeah. And I have such a meaning and connection to that movie because it reminds me of what you're talking about. It doesn't really matter what it is that you're doing. Like, it's whether, be a lawyer, be a coach, be an accountant, be whatever it is, but be
Yeah.
it with, I know that you didn't say this, but this is, I guess these are my words that I'm wrapping around it, but be that with your whole heart and your whole soul. If
Yeah.
that's where you've been led and called to be, and that's where you've been placed, maybe the invitation is be an instrument of love, be an instrument of kindness wherever you are,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's what a beautiful way to go. And I have to say, when my friend passed, I wasn't strong enough emotionally and I didn't feel okay to be there. It was too triggering for me at that time.
Right.
I
Right.
actually rebelled, I think, because I've lost a lot of people. It's obviously part of my soul's journey for any reason, but I heard that she was so blissfully surrendered in her heart that when
Mm.
she transitioned, it was this just peaceful transition. And yeah, I'm so privileged to have had her in my life for the time that we had her.
Yeah. Wow. Um, I am, my deepest condolences,
Thank you.
first of all. And thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's those things and the opportunities that life gives us to become more and more aware of who we are. And I feel like I've had breadcrumbs, and I think I could probably easily say you have, and people have in their lives. We have these breadcrumbs that have, if you follow them, back, sometimes in my case, follow them back, realizing, oh my gosh, whatever I had in my hand, I used to support others. I used to show off others and to help them find their own light. Even when I felt at times that I was in complete darkness
I
in my own
Yes.
life, like, so aligning my business, I think it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think, I hope I feel like every business has a purpose. And if you don't, like, why? That's just so weird. Like, even Even if you're starting the business to just, I just want to make money.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
It's a
purpose.
purpose. Yeah. That's great.
So, but my own internal purpose, I feel like you can't go wrong when you align your business to that.
Yeah.
You and be authentically you. You
Yeah.
can't go wrong,
Yeah.
you know. And it's serving, it serves me, it serves others. And I don't know what else is there.
It's
Really.
wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, it's right there in the vibration of who you are and how you show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's somebody listening right now and they're going, yeah, well, what else is there, Karen? There's money, there's this, there's that. Well, here's the thing. When you chase your purpose, it brings joy,
Yeah.
and money chases joy.
Yeah.
Everything chases joy.
Yeah.
Energetically, David, what is his name? David Hawkins has this beautiful book called Power versus Force.
Yeah.
And he talks about the levels of consciousness
Yes.
and the energy that each level of consciousness has.
Yeah.
And the highest one is enlightenment, and then it goes peace, and then it goes joy. And every other emotion is underneath peace and joy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you are following your purpose, you're going to naturally be in a place of joy and peace. And everything chases that, including finances. Abundance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd love to, I guess, also speak to, there's that sweet spot. I'm thinking this is very personal to me again, but there were so many years where I felt that bliss and that peace and that joy. And I was living my purpose in my day, I feel, as best I could at that time, because life was externally quite challenging. But I didn't actually really know, like, I didn't have the focus. I didn't have the focus in my business. And so for me, when I'm coaching or guiding or speaking, it's really important that as we have these, awakenings and we go, oh, wow, it's so amazing. Sometimes I feel like we can also forget to action it because we're so in that purpose-driven energy that I'm an instrument. It's beautiful. And it's like, wait, girl, I love you, but have you sent your email today? Did you pay your taxes? So it's like, because we can, sometimes I'll be in guiding and I'll hear people go, what? That was just so beautiful. What just happened? And it's like, it's funny, but from that human perspective, or as a business owner or employee or employer or whoever, whatever it is, no, you need to be there. Like, you've got to be switched on. So my thing now is, open heart, absolutely. And also, clarity of mind, really working with the mind to be able to be sharp and on point and focused. We need both. I'm just wondering if you have any words of wisdom around that sharing.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I feel like, um, excuse me, my nose keeps running.
Don't
It's
worry.
very dry here in Texas. And so, no, I like being personally responsible is part of joy.
Yeah.
Like I get to be responsible,
Yeah.
and so, and again, it's this meaning about, like, I know some people are hearing, oh my God, don't say the word responsible, don't say the word
Say
accountable.
the word taxes.
Yeah. And even that, to look at it and go, oh my gosh, I live in a country where
Mm.
I get to pay taxes.
Yeah. Yep.
I Because there are a lot of other places that people are not as fortunate.
Absolutely. And
And
again, thank you for the reminder. I often joke, I wake up and my neck is sore and I've been on the computer and I can feel the aches and pains. And I go and get my coffee and it's a different barista and it's not the same person and the coffee's not as
right.
good. And it's like, girl, I love you, but seriously, like, you're alive, you're living in a country where you can go and buy coffee and walk on the street and you're safe, and you have a computer and you have a chair, girl, be grateful. It's like, but also to
Yeah.
those parts of me that forget it, that's also okay, because that's
No
where my
blame, shame,
consciousness
guilt,
is. Yeah. No, it's like,
no
oh, I
judgment.
love you. You
Yeah.
just forgot. Come back.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah,
the reminders, of these
it's
parts of the
true.
conversation.
And they are reminders, but like, I'll leave this interview and go to, downstairs and talk to my husband, and he'll leave a dish in the sink, and I'll be like, what the hell?
And this is why I love surrounding myself with authentic people, right? It's like we
Yeah.
still are human. I had a
Oh
conversation with a
gosh.
girlfriend about 10 years ago. I won't say who, but she was writing for quite a prominent newspaper at the time around parenting. And literally, as she was on the phone and talking to me about this parenting article, she goes, "Would you pick up your shirt?" Like she was screaming at her son. And then she didn't realize. And when she came back, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"I love you so much. So you know what just happened." And I explained, and she was laughing.
yeah.
But yeah, it's, we're
But
human, we're complex.
that's real life. Like,
Yeah.
we're, like, I know I'm in the flow, and there are times that, and thankfully I have a husband that will, look at me when I say, what the hell, you just put that in the dish in the sink, and he'll be like, you're welcome, and walk away. And I'm like, oh, a reminder. Shoot, I'm so lucky. I'm thankful I have a husband, because, I was doing an interview with
Yeah.
with with a widow who lost
Yeah.
her husband
Yeah.
to COVID.
Oh,
And then
God.
I get to remember, like, oh yeah, I have a husband that'll put a dish in the sink, and that'll drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
just,
I
it's
had three
constant
or
reminders.
so years of, no husband and actually an abusive relationship.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes those big things to really go, oh, okay, things aren't perfect. And I'd love to have this Instagram life. There's that part of me as well, which is why for so many years I was off Instagram. But I think
Right.
the business, I need to be on it. It's important to have the presence. But yeah, there's no perfect, we think grass is greener on the other side and no one has problems. And no, there's a
No,
story.
the
Just, yeah.
the grass is greener where you water it.
I was just going to say that. Exactly
Oh,
right.
really?
I was just going to, yep, great minds think alike. That came to me a few days ago on either Insta or Facebook, wherever I was hanging out. But I saw that and I was like,
Yeah.
I love that. Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
the grass is greener where you water it. Karen, what does spirituality mean to you?
Ooh. That really just means to me, it's a personal relationship with God, universe, divine, love, life. I call love, or life with a capital L.
Yeah.
I call it God. I choose to call it God. And it's that's really what it boils down to. Simple for me. It's a personal relationship with God.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. I have a quick question for you on a practical way. I'm more than happy for us to go over time and continue through the questions, but I just want to make sure that you have the time for
I
us to
do.
do
I'm
that.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Karen, how do you think that we can integrate spirituality into entrepreneurship?
Mm. Integrating spirituality with entrepreneurship. I feel like it's kind of one of those things, like what we talked about, your purpose. For me, the question is, why wouldn't I? How can I not
Yeah,
integrate it? Right? Like, it's a part of who I am. And so, yeah, to me, entrepreneurship, it's not, there's this thinking that pervades our society, which is this: if it's this, it can't be that. It's
yeah.
this either or
Huh?
thinking. If it's entrepreneurship, it can't be spirituality. If it's
Huh?
spirituality, it can't be entrepreneurship. And I don't subscribe to that thinking. It's a both and for me. It can be both. And when I ask the question, how can it be
Mm.
both? How can I do this? It provides so many more answers than, um, well, that's the question I choose to use. Is like, how can it not integrate? So yeah, if there's somebody uh, that I speak to, and they they don't know how to integrate spirituality with entrepreneurship, or they say they can't,
Yeah.
that is really all about you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just either or for you right now. And you get to figure out how to bring those two things together.
So beautifully said. I was listening to a podcast recently and they were talking about, if you're in love, like in a state of love, you can't be in fear. And I was thinking, I actually don't know that I agree. I love that idea and I understand where she's coming from. And I love this
Right.
particular coach. But I actually really believe that we can be in a number of different states and aware of those different parts of us at the same time. You can have parts of you that are very much in the love, but you can still have parts of you that are still fearful of something. You can have parts that are integrated, that are not yet integrated. There can be a space between. I love what you shared though around, spirituality. That's obviously such a huge part of who you are. It is for me as well. Hence we connect so deeply. And so the entrepreneurship journey for me is an expression or an extension of that. It can't be separate,
Yeah.
it's who I am. So how can it be? It's like saying I'm going to cut my arm off. Like that's part of me. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I also know that,
It's beautiful.
we're in people have different, again, maps of the world. It's changing
Right.
though. I've been doing this for, 20 odd years. And these types of questions could not have even been asked because it would be, what do you mean by spirituality? Do you mean going to yoga? Or do you mean,
Right.
going to church? Whereas now
Right.
it's very different
It,
understanding.
all of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
The
all
whole
of
thing is yeah.
it.
Karen, how do you cultivate inner peace while growing out of success?
Mm, that's another one I'm going to chalk up to either or.
Mhm.
Um, because having inner peace and not having outer success, it's like, how is that even possible? How is it possible to have outer success and not have inner peace? And I know that there's people that are listening right now and go, oh, it's possible. I
Yeah,
don't, I can, but again, that's your definition. That's the meaning you give to the word success,
true.
the meaning that you give to the word peace.
Mm.
When it's, for me, marrying both of them is success.
Yeah.
Like that's the definition of success to me is was if I'm at peace with who I am and who I've been created to be,
Mhm.
and I have the success, the outward success. And again, what's the
Yeah.
meaning that I'm giving outward success? Is that finances?
Mhm.
Is that fame or some type of accolades? Is that like, or is it all of those things?
Mhm.
Um, I think, having the inner peace is a level of success.
It's huge, right? It's interesting that you say that because I can remember times where I had the outer success, whether that was, a married child and certain things in the house and a house and
Yeah.
oh my God, was I miserable. And that was part of the invitation for finding my inner peace. And then, yeah, there was a stripping away. It's just interesting how the journeys can be and how important it really is, I think, to have both. We need a level of both, of inner understanding, of inner peace, and a certain level of outer, whatever it is that is matching your heart's desires and perhaps where you live and the circumstances that you find yourself in. Even things like this sounds silly, but you've got a group of girlfriends going to the movies and a nice dinner, and if you can't afford to go because money's an issue for you, that's perhaps outer success. It might not feel great. You're okay if you have inner peace because you can cultivate that on your own, but there might be a part of you that goes, actually, I wish I could spend the $50, $60 and come with you girls.
Right. Right. And even in that, like I'm thinking, Debbie, well, if I want to create a both and, because like, my whole thing is both and win-win.
Yes.
If I want to create a win-win for my girlfriends and me,
Yeah.
what about asking if they're open to creating that with you in your space, with you? Like what could that look like? I mean, they may say, no, I'm not open to that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to just go, oh, woe is me. I
Yeah.
can't spend that
Victimhood.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how can you create a win-win? If you keep
True.
asking yourself that question,
Yeah.
it could look so many different ways. And we get to create.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful. I think that's even part of inner peace, is like knowing that I have been empowered to create,
Yes.
and I can create what it is that I want. So
Yeah.
I don't have to go into that place of victim. What would a
Yes.
responsible woman do? What would an abundant woman do? It's stepping into a quality driven life, not the circumstances or the circle I find myself standing in.
Again so grateful for this conversation, because all those parts of me that for whatever reason have been, plugged back into old thinking, old conditioning, are just being challenged. And I'm thinking last night I went for dinner with my cousin and my cousin's cousin, and we it was the first time that we caught up as adults, because we haven't, and we love each other, like we get
Yeah.
along so well, and we're like, this is so lovely, between work and kids and different locations, like how can we make this work? And I'm like, should we meet once a year and put it in the calendar? And one of the girls women, she says, no, I know, let's meet the week of our birthdays.
Ah,
Let's all do that. So when are the birthdays,
yeah.
put them in the calendar. And then my cousin says, well, actually, it's Deb's next month. So let's shout you dinner, and this can be your birthday dinner. And then the
Yeah.
next one's March and September. So yeah, just really cute that we were open to whatever that looked like in that environment. And it was a beautiful win-win situation and a pleasant,
Yeah.
gorgeous experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's reminding me of this beautiful thing that I learned from a guy by the name of Brian Clemmer. Um, it's, I say intention equals results.
Uh-huh.
So if my intention, if my intention is clear, I
Mm.
will find a way to get the result that I want.
Yes.
And
Amen.
and I will also say, if you don't like the results that you see around you, if you don't like the results that you're getting,
Yes.
go back to what your intention is,
Yeah. And
you
because
know?
that's your feedback, right? Getting the
Yes.
feedback again, and it's like, I thought maybe I wanted that, and then now I've got it, I'm not sure, maybe it's not that version of that thing that's showing up,
Yeah.
because
Or
that's the
like,
feedback.
yes, exactly. Or it's like, oh, my intention is to lose 10 pounds in the next 2 weeks, and 2 weeks comes and you've gained 10 pounds. Well, it wasn't your intention to lose 10 pounds. Look at your results. Your results, your intention was completely different, but it wasn't to lose 10 pounds. Your intention was probably to Netflix and chill, or it was to be comfortable,
Yeah.
or whatever it was, but it wasn't to lose 10 pounds because your results
Mm.
showed differently.
So interesting, that one. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, even things, mapping it back to business, where we want, I want a 20, 30K, 50K month or whatever it is. Why did I just have a 2K month? What happened? I'm wondering also, could that be, sometimes we talk about having like a lag time where the intention might be there, but for whatever reason, those other parts of us, or, circumstances have come in and changed that temporarily.
Mm,
And yeah,
yeah.
your thoughts on
That that's a great question. I think, again, the meaning. So when I say intention,
that? Mm.
I know a lot of people have a different meaning for that word. Um, the meaning that I'm giving to it is my deepest level of commitment, my deepest, deepest commitment. If I'm deeply committed, which my intention, I'm deeply committed to releasing 10 pounds, and I don't release 10 pounds.
Over a realistic period of time also, the
Right,
one.
right, right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
yeah, I said
yeah,
2 weeks. Like,
yeah.
I like, if I could if I could release 10 pounds in 2 weeks, that would be great. No, that's not where I'm at in my life. But yeah, like, if you give yourself any goal and
Yeah,
you get to the goal period and you didn't do that,
yeah,
that is beautiful feedback you get, and not from a place of blame, shame, and guilt. It's a
totally.
place of, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't
Mm.
hit that goal. What did I get? What does my result show?
Yeah.
If you can backtrack it and go, okay, what was I more committed to than this
Mm.
result?
Yes.
I was more committed to, in the case of the weight release, watching TV. I
Yeah.
didn't get up and I wasn't really deeply committed to doing what I needed to do to release the weight.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely right. I'm thinking to my 10,000 steps per day, which have dropped down to
yeah,
7,000 steps. And why aren't my jeans fitting me as well? Because you need to walk more per day. And it's just,
yeah.
that's how it is. Yeah.
That's so
Um,
funny that you said that. That's one of my goals.
really?
Is get to 10,000 steps a day. I spend so much time,
Yes.
in front of on a Zoom call or in front
Yeah.
of a camera that I get to get out and walk or
Yeah.
walk even just right beside, like, maybe
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
maybe I'm
I walk in the hallway as well.
on treadmills. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get the
But
steps in somehow. Yeah.
exactly. But when I get deeply committed to it, I will
Yeah.
do things like that.
Yes. I think I was a little too committed last night where I was 9,500 and walking around the bed in circles going, I think maybe it's
There.
okay that you can go to bed now. Just stop.
No, that's
Take it up
commitment.
tomorrow. That's
And you know what? No, because that's commitment, because you said you made a promise to
I
yourself.
did.
Because what
I think
happens
did I
when
keep it? I was
you
very tired
tell your
last night.
subconscious, what happens when you tell your
Yes.
subconscious, I'm going to, today is the day I'm going to walk 10,000 steps, and
Yeah.
you get 9,500 and you're like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Guess what you're telling your
Well,
subconscious?
I will tell you, I have the figure here. So it was Wednesday, the 20th of November, 9,574. So I did miss it by what's that, 426?
Yeah.
But I will make it up today. So for me, as long as it's 70K by the end of the week, which is the
Oh, well,
overall.
there you go.
So that
Yeah,
and that's why
perfect.
I haven't broken it yet this
Yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And that it's true. It's like how you write the goal matters, right? Begin with the end in mind.
Yes. Well, because then I found if I was saying 10,000 and I didn't, then I would go into blame, and then that would
Right.
demotivate me, and then I wouldn't actually do it. Whereas if I go, well, today I'll just do, extra, then
Yeah.
that's okay. Um,
And that's good.
yeah, it's working overall.
Yeah,
Karen,
that's
how do
great.
you overcome limiting beliefs and embody abundance?
Mm. Wow. Well,
A whole other podcast.
and that's a whole other podcast. I just like, wow, is it possible to overcome limiting beliefs? I think that for me, it's again choosing I am abundant and
Mhm.
choosing that quality and getting into the vibration of abundance. What does that look like for me? Um, choosing abundance. Like, so there's this tool, be, do, have.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the times we're like, oh, if I want to have cash, or if I want to have abundance, or if I want to have that house, whatever that is, um, I have to get the high paying job. I have to, you know, do these things in order to have.
Mhm.
And what I've learned in my life is you
Mhm.
get to be abundant.
Yeah.
Step into so if I'm abundant, I remember sharing, this was a reel that went around on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And I have a goal in 2025 to build $100,000 a month business.
Cool.
And I was trying to build my $100,000 a month business from a $100 a month mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just started my new business, and I had just quit corporate America, retired, and okay, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And I kept saying, but I don't have I would love to get a business coach, but I don't have the money for that. I don't
Yeah.
I kept trying to build this business from not having enough, from a
Yeah.
scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And another download was, if you were creating $100,000 a month right now, what would you be doing? I got super excited, Debbie. I was like, oh my gosh, I would if I was creating $100,000 right now, I would hire my business coach. I
Yeah.
would hire a marketing team. I would do this summit. I would do like all the things. And then it was like, why aren't you doing that now?
Wow.
I get to step up to the level of what that's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out, spent money, and I'm not advocating spending money you don't
Yeah.
have, just hear
Yeah.
my heart. I'm
Yeah.
saying I did what I needed to do to create. If if I stepped into abundance, I went and got that coach. I went and said yes to the summit, which is what you are being we got how we met,
Yeah.
is because I chose to do that summit.
Yeah.
And do you know the following month after that was my first $100,000 month?
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. When you step into abundance, that was the shift and the click for me. It was like I get to be, and when I be the beingness of abundance,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm abundant, I will do these actions.
Wow.
And then
Yes.
there's a whole list of actions that came, and then I have.
Amazing.
So it is really be, do, have. So yeah, when you ask that question, that's the first thing that comes into
No, I love it so
I am
much.
abundant.
I feel like for me, I feel like I've plateaued, and I also feel
Ah,
like I wanted to go a bit slowly because there were parts of me that couldn't sort of manage things at a certain level. I wanted to have the right team, the right understanding of marketing
right.
and sales. And so but I'm just thinking back to the past when I was like, this is going to work. This is what's happening. I am being that. And there was no proof that it was going to happen. It was like there was
Right.
nothing in my world other than my conviction to just go, this is all going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not settling for anything less than that.
Uh,
And I just like, I'd have days and moments, but I would just come back into that space so clearly. And I'm here. I've maintained that for 5 years straight. And now I want to up the ante, and I've been here for a while, and I'm a little bit like, oh, what's happening? Why isn't it happening faster than than I
right.
was thinking? And whether that's a block or a divine timing thing or whatever it is, because I do also believe in divine timing, that we have, there's just certain years or quarters where it's just, yeah, go girl, this is your thing. Do you think we have, or do you think that's a limiting belief actually?
That's interesting. That's a really great question.
Mm.
Wow. I yeah, I don't that the my first thought is that it probably is limiting in some respect, right? Um yeah, I think that we get to step into, like, when you were saying that you have, like, what you just said there, what was the end result? Like, what happened when you were like, let me just step into this?
It took a little bit of time, but
Yeah.
it happened. But it was more like I would have to look back over 6 to 12 months to see the
Mhm.
result.
Yeah.
And there was there was hustling, but also relaxing, and like it was a masculine and feminine dance. But it
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like it was just like, okay, this is working, there's momentum, this is working, there's momentum. And then looking back going, oh wow, that year I bought in, this amount. Okay, reach that milestone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but also there was a lot of healing that took place
Mm,
because this was coinciding with, yeah, big shifts in my world, and coming to understand some truths that were it was quite a challenging feedback experience, shall we say.
yeah.
I navigated that while growing the business. So again, this might all be limiting beliefs. Maybe I could have done it differently, but at that time and where I sit now, that's the best that my soul and my being could do. And I'm really proud of
Yes.
myself because
Yes.
there was, health challenges and really quite significant traumas there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's the part of it, is that, if God, and that's just my perspective, if God
Yeah.
could just say, hey, here you go, and you're not ready to receive it,
I wasn't ready.
you it's not really a gift then, right?
No.
Like, if we had this thing around when our girls went to college, to buy them a car.
Mhm.
And, if we bought them a car, let's say in middle school,
Yeah.
and I don't know what you guys say in Australia. I
Yeah.
know in Canada it's junior high, so I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure.
think we just have it's like high school year 7 to 12, but I think that's like 9 and 10, which is probably
Ah,
where my son is. Like it's 16,
yeah,
that's middle
yeah.
school. Is that the same kind
Yeah.
of thing? 17,
Yeah,
18.
so
Like, yeah.
yeah, so here in Texas, it's middle school is grade 7 and 8, and
Oh,
then
okay. So that's our younger, earlier years, but
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, if I had said, "Oh, you know what? I know they're getting ready to, go to college in the next, 5 years,
Yeah.
6 years, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
there's beautiful deal on this car. I could buy
Yeah.
this now, like,
Yeah.
save it for them, or they could have it now." Um, they wouldn't have been prepared to receive it. First of all, they don't have a license. A permit. They don't have, insurance. You can't get insurance on
Yeah.
that vehicle. Like, they're just not at the place where they're ready to receive that gift. In fact, it's just now something that, could potentially mock them every time they come out of, anything with this. So, I have a car, but
It has
drive.
adverse reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I think we get to be so a part of it could be a limiting belief, but I
Yeah.
feel like divine timing is a thing, and you're not going to get anything that you want ahead of the time that you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Like, God loves us that much. The universe loves us that
So
much
agree. I so
that,
agree.
yeah,
Because I have to say, I did have when I was younger. There were some things that happened that were big gifts, and I really didn't know what they were. I won't go into the details of them, but for whatever reason, I wasn't able to receive.
yeah,
And so I think for some time I did sort of repel and almost probably punish myself even. And then
right.
come to a place in my 40s going, well, my love, don't punish yourself. Like you didn't know, like your heart was pure, your intentions were pure. You didn't know what that was at the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's okay. And now you do.
Exactly, exactly, and you learn from it, and I think that's the whole, like, ma I'm thinking of a magnet right now,
Yeah.
like the ones we see in the cartoon, and like, how, like, we like attracts like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we are here talking on this podcast, and you are like a mirror to me.
Yeah.
Like, I get to see myself and the things, like, again, feedback. Everything
Yes.
is feedback, right?
Yes.
And this whole thing about just using the right time at the right place. You're in a vibration that you can see these things and receive these things. Abundance has a vibration. And when you're vibrating at that level and you're ready, like, in the last 2 months, I've watched the windows of heaven literally open up onto me. And it's not just finances, it's opportunities. It's to be here with you. Like, what an opportunity. Um, just abundance in all its ways, nothing missing, nothing broken. It's true. I feel like I'm vibrating in this true space of abundance right now.
It's
You can
I'm
ask me
very
tomorrow.
it's Ask
We'll
me
see
tomorrow
how
when
it.
I walk downstairs and I see the dish in the sink that hubby left me. But no, but it's like I'm getting teary because I have so much love and respect for you, and I'm so genuinely so happy to hear that you're like kicking these goals is the wrong words, but kicking these goals and receiving all of this, and it just I'm so proud of you and so happy, and it also gives me that hope for myself that what I've been working towards that it's going to happen. It's okay. Just rest into it. And, really embracing that idea of divine timing. And I think this is where working with energy and understanding your intuition and being able to have that connection with those that whether we're coaching or we're, having a podcast conversation,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But recognizing, no, actually, maybe that's not a limiting belief. Maybe that's actually the cycle of your soul's journey, and that's divine timing. And I think I just needed someone who knows me, in that energetic way to go, yeah, no, this is what it feels like. And this
Yeah.
is for anyone else listening who's like, I'm so frustrated. Like, I've worked on my beliefs. I've done the coaching. I've done it. Why isn't it happening? Because maybe, my love, maybe it's just not today, this week, your time for that. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
There's
okay.
still something that you get to tweak. There's still something that you get to learn. Like if this was even 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
Debbie, like the fact that we're meeting today, because we met a couple months ago.
we
We
did.
we could have interviewed a couple months ago.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been the same interview.
Yes.
And I don't know that I would have been ready.
Mm,
Uh, I had some significant things happen for me over this weekend, and I have been working with another coach on um, her name's Whitney Hewland, and she's wonderful around being famous.
mm.
And I can say that to you now, where a month ago, even just saying that, I was like, oh,
Oh,
cringe.
yeah.
And even on the inside, I did saying that now. Honestly, I did cringe a little bit, but not as much as I wouldn't have been able to get it out a month ago.
Yeah, right. Wow.
And it was still that thing around unseen, being
Mm,
unseen, and like feeling safe to be seen.
yeah, wow.
And just in the last little while, I've been able to tweak that to go, I am meant to be seen.
Yeah.
There's people, there are women and other people waiting to hear my heart and hear what's on my mind. Um, because their breakthrough is on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And I can no longer be selfish. I can no longer stay in the shadows and no longer hide, because I was meant to I was meant to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, which is why your selves really speak to me.
Mm,
And I know that the one that pops out to me
yeah.
is the one around legacy.
Yeah. And you just, without realizing it, that, well, that's where we're going next in the chat, is the selves. And um, yeah, I would love to find out what speaks to you about that self. Why is that one your favorite one?
Well, I think they're all so great. Like, they're so good.
Thank
And because, right, they're all parts of us.
They are.
Right. So how could it be anything but good? So they're all parts of us. But and legacy just sticks out for me because I think I learned this when I was a young child. And I think it was something that one of my parents said to me. Um, Leave it better than you found it. We were visiting someone else's house and they're
Yeah.
like, leave it better. She said, leave it. I think it was my mom or dad, one of them. Leave it better than you found it. And that has always stuck with me since a young
Me
child.
too. Again. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't come into that until I was an adult. That concept wasn't, I didn't
Right.
see it or it wasn't taught, but it resonates so deeply with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether
Yeah.
it's a piece of rubbish on the street, pick it up, put it away if you can, even though you didn't do it, okay, but leave it better than you found it. I had a friend that, we were traveling, and he would actually like clean the place, and I'm like, but there's cleaners and things, and he's like, my mum taught me to leave it better than you find it. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
what a beautiful concept. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
And I've taken that into even you, like, or like when I meet people, I want to leave them better than I found them,
Yeah.
you know? And it probably doesn't help that or probably doesn't hurt that I have the name Karen. I will tell you that just with the meaning that people have started to give that name Karen,
Yeah.
like I always think that, well, it's opposite because I know the name actually means pure. And so I really take that to heart. But I also is like, I cannot, with my name, Karen, I cannot walk up to anybody and necessarily go off or give them a piece of my mind or anything like that, because it's like, what's your name? It's Karen. Oh. I'm very mindful now that would so it's such a gift because I get people ask me that a lot. Like, how do you feel about, your name being Karen? And I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
I I know the meaning that I give to it. It means pure.
Mm.
And my middle name is Lucy, which means light.
Oh.
And last name Walker, like literally pure
You're
light
a light
walking.
walker.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I use that, and I also use what other people think of it.
Yeah.
Um, think of the name Karen, and what that might mean for me is to like totally obliterate that meaning, so
Yeah.
that I'm like very conscious of my name being Karen, and I use that to my benefit. So
Beautiful.
always leaving it better than I found it.
I love that. Thank you so much. So that's your favorite self, and that's the reason why. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
shown, in everything that you're doing with the producing, the coaching, the podcast, the summit. It's wanting to be present with whatever is there and speak your heart and speak your truth so that
Yeah.
you can leave it, whatever it is, better than
Right.
when you found it. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. That is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so our lucky last question is, do you have any words of wisdom for anyone who is running a business that serves both the world and their hearts?
I would say, start with your heart
Mm.
first, you know. Um, for those of us that are heart-centered and running businesses, I think I shared this with you before we got on air. Um, we tend to be the ones pouring out, you know. And, we've heard it, you can't pour out of an empty container. You get to fill yourself up first. Start with your own heart.
Yeah.
Fill you up. And when I say like fill, like I have my cup here and I say fill it up, that's for you.
Mm-hmm.
Overflow
Yeah.
is for everybody else.
Yeah.
So fill yourself up to overflow. Surround yourself with those people who will call you out and call you up. You know, um, that's really it.
Mm.
Heart first, fill you up.
Yeah. Love it so much. And I feel so filled up from this conversation.
I do
I feel
too.
like the energy is just so beautiful, the wisdom shared, and my wish and prayer now is that those that need to receive this will find their way to this particular podcast and touch base with you or I in any way that they feel to, and we'll have all the links there. And whoever's listening, I just feel to say, we love you so much and thank you for sharing time and space with us. And Karen, thank you so much. What an absolute treasure and pleasure it is to connect with you in this way. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh gosh, you're so very welcome. This was been my joy and my privilege. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you.
If you resonate with what we're about and you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening to us, please leave a review and share the episode with someone who you believe could benefit from what has been discussed. Thank you so much for your support. See you soon. The information provided on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical, health, or financial advice. Always consult with a qualified health professional or financial advisor before making any decisions related to your personal health or finances.